Good morning, class. I hope you're all ready for today's presentations. Her eyes scanned the room, pausing just a second longer on Noah and Liam, a look Noah had grown used to. Not hostile, but doubtful. We'll go in alphabetical order. Bennett, you're up first. Noah stood, heart pounding against his ribs. He made his way to the front of the classroom, every step trailed by curious stares, some expectant, some already giggling. My name is Noah Bennett. My presentation is about my dad's job. Speak up, Noah, Ms. Anderson cut in, voice soft but sharp. Noah swallowed. My dad's name is Thomas Bennett. He works at the Pentagon. The class fell silent for a single beat. Then came a snicker. Then laughter. Ms. Anderson didn't stop them. In fact, her lips curled slightly. The Pentagon, Noah? Are you sure? Yes, ma'am. He's worked there for 8 years. She tilted her head, amusement glinting in her eyes like she was hearing a fairy tale. What is he, the president? The class exploded with laughter. Ms. Anderson let it go unchecked, eyes twinkling at the chaos she'd invited. Noah clenched his fists, his cheeks burning. No, ma'am. He works in strategic security. Ah, of course he does, Ms. Anderson replied smoothly, voice dripping with condescension. Maybe next time, try picking something a little more believable. Noah stepped back to his desk, head bowed low. Liam raised his hand, voice firm. Miss, Noah's not lying. I've seen his dad's Pentagon badge. Ms. Anderson turned to him slowly, her smile thin as paper. Thank you, Liam. If you'd like to keep arguing, I'd be happy to see you after class. Liam dropped his hand, glancing toward Noah with quiet guilt. The laughter returned. And for the first time, Noah understood. Truth isn't always enough. Not when people choose to believe something else. Jefferson Academy, the most prestigious school in Washington, D.C., stood like a proud fortress built of brick and privilege. Here, the children of politicians, diplomats, and top-tier executives were educated under the careful shelter of tradition and status. But for Noah Bennett, every day he walked through its gates was a confrontation, with suspicion wrapped in politeness. That morning, Noah stood in front of the mirror, carefully adjusting his navy blue tie. At just 10 years old, he already understood that a uniform wasn't just clothing, it was a necessary armor to enter a world that hadn't invited him. From the kitchen below, his father's calm voice rang out. Breakfast is ready, Noah. Coming, Dad, Noah replied, glancing once more at his reflection. His face showed confidence, the mask he wore for his parents. At school, he had learned silence. Downstairs, Thomas Bennett, Noah's father, was reviewing a report on his tablet. Even in plain clothes, he carried a distinct presence, back straight, gaze sharp, every movement deliberate. Are you all set for today? He asked, sliding a plate of toast and eggs across the table. Yes. Today our teacher asked us to present about our parents' jobs, Noah said, his voice tinged with pride. Thomas looked up, eyes narrowing slightly. Is that so? I'm going to talk about your work at the Pentagon. Thomas held his gaze for a beat longer, then nodded slowly. Remember what I told you. Some things carry weight, even when left unsaid. I know, Dad, Noah smiled. Speak less, think more. Thomas gently tousled his son's hair. Good. Now eat up, or you'll be late. The silver sedan pulled up outside the school gates, modest among the rows of sleek, polished luxury cars. Noah stepped out, back straight, hand gripping his backpack, eyes fixed on the grand red brick building ahead. A quick wave from inside the car. Have a good day, Thomas said. I will, Dad. Walking through the marble-tiled hallway, Noah could feel the eyes following him. Not hostile, but something worse, scrutinizing. Noah. A familiar voice called out. Liam Carter, his best friend, appeared with messy red hair and his usual easy grin. Ready for Ms. Anderson's class. Noah shrugged. We'll see. What are you going to say about your parents? Liam hesitated. My dad's still at the shop. Nothing special. The two walked into the classroom. The room buzzed with the voices of kids boasting proudly. My dad just closed a $50 million merger. My mom had lunch with 3 senators yesterday. And then Ms. Anderson entered, tall, elegant, honey blonde hair tied neatly, and a designer dress that couldn't hide her chilly poise. Her voice rang out, sweet and cool. "Good morning, class. I hope you're ready for your presentations today." The school day dragged on like an endless performance, each class a reminder that he wasn't trusted. When the final bell rang, Noah stuffed his books into his backpack and rushed out of the room as if fleeing from the lingering laughter still hanging in the air. His father was already waiting in the car. With just one look at his son's face, Thomas knew something was wrong. "How was your day?" Thomas asked softly, his eyes scanning Noah's expression like a radar for anything unusual. Noah didn't answer right away. He clutched his backpack straps tightly and stared out the window as the car pulled away. "We had to present about our parents' jobs," Noah began, his voice getting quieter. "I said you work at the Pentagon." And everyone laughed.
Even MS. Anderson Loged.
Thomas remained silent. Only the sound of the engine and the soft clicking of the turn signal filled the quiet as he turned onto a calmer street. "They didn't believe me," Noah went on, anger now clear in his tone. "She acted like I made it up. Said next time I should be more truthful. I felt invisible." Thomas gripped the steering wheel tighter. His voice remained calm, but his eyes sharpened like blades. "Because she can't imagine someone like you having a father who works somewhere like the Pentagon."
Then why don't you ever come to school?
"If you showed up just once, they'd believe me." "You know what I do," Thomas replied, trying to soften his tone. "It's not always easy to just step away. But I understand. Maybe it's time that changed." They arrived home as the sun dipped low. Without a moment's pause, Thomas pulled out his phone and took a call, his voice shifting instantly, quick, clipped, authoritative.
Yes, il confirme. No, unacceptable.
Prioritize, level 1. Noah overheard from the living room, but backed away quickly when his father emerged. His face, now unreadable, had locked away its emotions. "Is everything okay?" Noah asked. "Just work," Thomas replied with a smile. "Nothing to worry about." That night, Noah couldn't sleep. A strange sound outside his window drew him closer. Under the street lamp across the road, a black SUV sat in silence. A man in a dark suit stepped out, lifting a hand to his ear, speaking into what looked like a comms device. Frightened, Noah ran to his father's room and knocked lightly. "Dad, there's someone outside. I think they're watching the house." Thomas rose immediately, walked to the window, and looked out, showing no surprise. "I know," he said, placing a steady hand on Noah's shoulder. "It's okay. Some things are safer when you don't know too much." "But who are they? Why are they here?" Thomas looked directly into his son's eyes. "You just need to know one thing. They're not here because of you. They're here because of me."
And you won't let anything happen to you.
"Got it." Noah nodded, though questions still stirred inside him. And in the middle of the quiet night, as his father returned to his office and shut the door behind him, Noah lay awake in bed, eyes wide open. The taunts from that morning echoed faintly in his mind, but now they were slowly being replaced by the image of the black SUV, his father's promise, and a truth that was beginning to take shape. His dad wasn't just another office worker. He was something else. The next morning unfolded with an uncanny stillness. Noah woke up on time and ate breakfast in silence. His father had already left, leaving a hastily scribbled note on the table. "Urgent matter. Stay safe.
See you tonight.
Dad." On the way to school, everything appeared normal. Traffic, hurried parents, groups of students laughing and chatting. But to Noah, something felt off. A quiet unease crept beneath every step, like he was walking into a place he no longer truly understood. At the administrative office of Jefferson Academy, the school's internal network began to malfunction. The main server, which held student data, parent records, and the full security layout, kept flashing connection errors. "Probably just another update glitch," an IT staffer muttered, typing rapidly. But the system didn't respond as usual. Instead, a strange string of code flashed briefly on the screen before vanishing. #SCDA// access point, injected, redirect, X29Y113. The technician frowned. What the hell was that? Meanwhile, deep within a secure sublevel of the Pentagon, Thomas Carter was in a classified meeting with a select group of cybersecurity experts and counterintelligence officers. They've attempted to breach civilian SCADA systems 3 times this week, said a silver-haired woman, her voice taut. The most recent attempt, just a few hours ago, was traced to a private school in Washington, D.C. Which school? Thomas asked, though his instincts had already provided the answer.
Jefferson Academy.
The room fell silent.
Coïncidence, Soméon murmure.
No, Thomas replied, his eyes like ice.
Det es where my son goes.
Which means the breach came from inside. He stood and quickly entered a secure override code on his encrypted phone.
Initiat unwanted surveillance protocol.
I want every piece of network traffic in that zone routed through my system. Back at Jefferson, Noah was trying to stay unnoticed in class when Ethan, his only real friend, leaned over and whispered.
You notice anything, Wade? My laptop keeps blinking and then freeze.
Noah turned on his school-issued tablet. The screen flickered with a string of code, then went dark. He frowned. No one else seemed to notice. Only Noah recognized the patterns. The code looked eerily similar to the encrypted files he'd once glimpsed in his father's office, files he wasn't supposed to see, but had secretly studied. Ethan, Noah whispered, I think someone's watching the school. Later that day, when Noah got home, Thomas was waiting in the car. Unlike his usual casual attire, today he wore a sharp suit, and his Pentagon identification badge was clearly displayed. We need to talk, Thomas said quickly. Not here. Get in. They drove through familiar streets, but Noah felt as if he were leaving behind everything he once knew. Thomas said nothing until they reached a small, discreet office building, his private off-site workspace.
Inside the dark room, the glow of a large monitor cast a sharp shadow across Thomas' stern face.
Did you notice anything strange at school today? He asked. Noah nodded. My tablet showed some weird code. Then it vanished. Thomas rotated the monitor toward him. A live schematic of the network showed traffic flows, originating from Jefferson Academy. The school's been breached, Thomas said. And not by amateurs. This is how nation-state cybergroups infiltrate civilian infrastructure. But why our school? Noah asked, his voice trembling. Thomas looked at him, his eyes steely with resolve and concern. Because I work here, he said, pointing to the Pentagon logo on the screen. And because you're my son. Jefferson Academy, long celebrated as a bastion of excellence, entered Parent Day with its usual air of self-assurance. Students stood in pristine uniforms, while a steady line of parents passed through the wrought iron gates. Bentley, Lexus, and Tesla vehicles rolled up to the front circle one by one. Noah stood on the edge of the courtyard, a weight pressing down on his chest. He knew today would be different. But he wasn't sure if he was ready. In Ms. Caldwell's classroom, a history teacher known among students as graceful but razor-sharp, the chairs for parents gradually filled. The room buzzed with conversations about White House dinners, multi-million-dollar philanthropic ventures, and global investments. What does your father do, Noah? One parent asked with a polite smile, though the curiosity in their eyes felt more judgmental than genuinely interested. Noah opened his mouth to respond, but the classroom door swung open. Silence fell instantly. Thomas Carter stepped inside, dark suit, steel briefcase in hand, a Pentagon clearance badge clipped visibly to his chest. Ms. Caldwell furrowed her brow, clearly not recognizing the man. Excuse me, and you are? She asked. Thomas Carter, he replied calmly but firmly. I'm here for Parent Day, with my son Noah. Every eye in the room turned from the man to the boy who had always been considered ordinary.
One parent whispered. Carter. Pentagon.
That can't be.
Thomas said nothing more.
He took the empty seat next to Noah, placed his briefcase down, and sat quietly, as if he were just another father arriving on time. The presentations began. Students took turns sharing about their parents: lawyers, doctors, CEOs, investors. Each description was met with approving nods from Ms. Caldwell, sometimes accompanied by applause from impressed parents. Then it was Noah's turn. The room seemed to freeze. He stood slowly, meeting Ms. Caldwell's gaze, no longer avoiding eye contact.
My father is Thomas Carter.
He works in the Strategic Counterintelligence Division at the Pentagon. A few snickers followed. Tyler, the boy who always made snide remarks, shook his head and muttered, "Here he goes again, making stuff up." Ms. Caldwell offered a thin smile. "Noah, creativity is wonderful, but today we're sharing real information." That's when Thomas stood up. Without a word, he opened his briefcase and pulled out a high-level security access plaque. He gently placed it on the teacher's desk. The room exploded. "Gold C clearance?" One parent gasped, face going pale. He's real." Ms. Caldwell stammered, her usual composure unraveling. Thomas looked her straight in the eyes. "I'm not here just to prove anything," he said. "I'm here because there's a serious matter concerning this school's safety." Just then, his phone vibrated softly.
Un message flashed on the screen.
"Alert, unauthorized data access detected, Jefferson Academy mainframe. Firewall breached. Protocol Alpha activated." Thomas glanced at it, then raised his eyes to the classroom. "Everyone stay calm," he said, not loudly, but with such command that silence returned immediately. "We may be in the middle of a live cyber attack. And no, this isn't a drill." Ms. Caldwell looked stunned. "You're saying, what? An attack?" "The school's network is being accessed externally. And I have strong reason to believe Jefferson Academy isn't a random target." Noah no longer trembled. He stood beside his father, eyes steady. Thomas pulled a small device from his briefcase and pressed a button. Instantly, the classroom doors locked. The projector screen switched to a live network map, highlighting points of infiltration throughout the school system. One red dot blinked aggressively over the central administration room. Thomas pointed. "That," he said, "is where it started. And if I'm right, the intruder is very close to us." The classroom was silent as stone. Some parents frantically checked their phones. A few students began to cry. Noah stood close to his father, eyes locked on the flashing red screen. "Please explain, Mr. Carter," Ms. Caldwell whispered, barely able to speak. "Are we in real danger?" Thomas didn't look up from the tablet in his hands. "A government-grade cyber intrusion just occurred," he said. "But the strange part is," he tapped the screen, zooming in, "the target isn't administrative data. It's student accounts and devices linked to internal home networks." A parent shot to their feet. "You mean, our children are the target?" Thomas nodded. "This isn't just a data breach. It's reconnaissance. And it could be the beginning of a coordinated abduction campaign." The air turned to ice. At that moment, Noah's tablet emitted a faint beep. He glanced down. His screen flickered with a strange line of code.
Dièse access./, admin control. Redirect 401, core. Dad, what is this?
Thomas snatched the device, his eyes narrowing. They're probing through student devices, starting with tablets, piggybacking on school Wi-Fi, into the core system. He looked up, voice urgent now. "I need to reach the server room."
Everyone stay here.
"Do not open the door for anyone. I'm leaving an emergency lock code with Ms. Caldwell." Meanwhile, at the far end of the West Wing hallway, a figure in a maintenance uniform slipped past a security camera. But no one noticed. The camera was recording, but not saving. The figure turned into the control room, home to the school's core networking gear, and began working at the console. Beneath the fake uniform, a black tactical vest, an earpiece, and a sidearm tucked into a disguised toolkit. He wasn't a technician. He was an operative. Thomas raced down the hallway. At the main gate, an embedded FBI agent spoke through his earpiece. "Carter, confirmation just came in. One maintenance staffer never checked in today. Someone used a cloned ID badge and accessed the admin wing earlier this morning." "I know," Thomas replied. "He's in the server room. I'm on him."
You're going in alone.
"I need to keep this quiet."
If the parent panic, everything falls apart.
Inside the control room, the imposter agent was downloading the final packet of data when, click.
The door swung open.
Thomas stepped in, gun raised. "Drop your weapon. There's no way out." The operative didn't flinch. He turned slowly, his pale blue eyes calm as ice. "Mr. Carter," he said, voice laced with a mix of Eastern European and British tones. "We've been watching you for a long time."
Who are you? My name doesn't matter.
"All we need is a child. Or a single mistake from you." Thomas's finger tightened on the trigger. The operative raised his hands, not in surrender, but to press a button on his watch. The lights died. At that exact moment, sirens blared throughout the school. Back in the classroom, Ms. Caldwell froze as a voice crackled over the intercom. Internal alert. All classrooms enter lockdown mode. Do not leave your position. Noah gripped Ethan's hand tightly. He whispered, "They're here." Right inside the school. The alarm siren echoed through the halls of Jefferson Academy, mingling with the chaotic footsteps of teachers searching for students hiding in panic under desks, and parents frantically calling the police, unaware that the police were already there. But they weren't in uniform. They were FBI, NSA, protectors of something no one could imagine would be threatened inside a private school. In the control room, dark, filled with smoke from shorted capacitors, Thomas Carter crawled silently past equipment. The rogue agent had cut power to the entire West Wing and jammed signals from the server. But Thomas knew, the agent hadn't erased the data, he was downloading it. That gave Thomas a single window to act. With a dagger hidden in his vest's hem, Thomas sliced through the ceiling panel. He didn't attack through the door. He climbed above. 10 seconds later, as the agent turned to check the download progress, the ceiling behind him collapsed. A precise kick disarmed the gunman. Thomas followed with a punch to the wrist. They grappled amid flashing red lights. "You can't protect your son," the agent hissed. "Anton Volk sends his regards." At that name, Thomas froze for a split second, enough to be thrown back. Anton Volk. A name from the past. From a bloody mission in Syria in 2020. A man who'd escaped with a wound from Thomas's own bullet. Now back, targeting Noah. Thomas roared, slamming his knee into the agent's chest, then drew a Glock from his ankle holster, pressing it to the enemy's temple. "Where is he?" "You'll find out soon," the agent sneered, "but by then, it'll be too late."
Bang!
In classroom 112, Ms. Caldwell locked the door, drew the blinds, and shakily called roll. But in her mind, a truth was quietly taking root. Noah's words, that his father wasn't an ordinary employee, were absolutely true. Noah didn't look at her. He peered through the door's narrow gap, eyes scanning the dark hallway, gripping his phone tightly. He knew the Wi-Fi was down, but Bluetooth still worked. He opened the secret tracking app Thomas had installed on his birthday watch. A red dot, moving. Then stopping. In the north basement. "Ethan," Noah whispered. "I think they're down there. Maybe an escape route or a rendezvous point." "What are you going to do?" Noah looked at his friend, then at the teacher, trying to reach someone on the radio, and knew no one here understood the situation better than he did. "I'm going to find my dad," he said. "And if I'm right, I'll stop this from the inside." Outside Jefferson Academy, it was no longer just an alert but a prelude to an assault. An FBI tactical team, led by Agent Ramirez, was mapping the building. Confirmed, 2 fake maintenance workers, one neutralized by Carter, one unlocated. And at least 1 unit in the basement. "Any students trapped?" Ramirez asked. "Yes, but most are in classrooms, safe." "Except Noah Carter," another voice cut in. "The kid left room 112. Alone." Ramirez gripped her earpiece. "God help us," she whispered. "Thomas will kill me if anything happens to that boy. Or he'll kill everyone behind this." In the basement of Jefferson Academy, the air was thick with the smell of mold and rusty metal. Noah Carter moved slowly among leaking steam pipes, palms slick with sweat. Each step was an internal dialogue between fear and resolve. On his wrist, the tracker's signal blinked. His father was close. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. "You shouldn't be here." Noah spun around. Not an enemy. It was Maria Ramirez, FBI. "I'm looking for my dad," Noah said, voice trembling but firm. Ramirez studied the boy for a moment, weighing duty against respect. Finally, she lowered her voice. "Your dad. He's why everyone's still alive. But if you're here, he'll risk everything." Noah nodded. But he didn't turn back. "I'm not leaving. Not when he's alone." Ramirez nodded slowly, then pulled out a mini radio. "Carter, I'm in the basement. Your kid's with me. He won't leave." A pause. Then Thomas's voice, clear and calm. "Keep him close. I'm about to end this. On the second floor, Thomas Carter was inspecting the enemy's electronic setup, each device a pipeline to a foreign intelligence hub. Volk didn't just want his son. He wanted a gateway to the deepest secrets, Project Blackfish. Thomas unlocked a seized laptop. The screen displayed vulk.tunnel/blackfish equals initiated. Volk hadn't just escaped that year. He'd tracked Thomas's every move, and prepared for years. Thomas hit mirror, rerouting the data Volk was transmitting to a server Thomas controlled. If Volk wanted to play double-cross, Thomas would show him who wrote the espionage playbook. In an East Wing room, where red emergency lights flickered on a face etched with hatred, Anton Volk set down his phone. Carter didn't send the data. He's bluffing. An agent beside him bowed. Maybe we should change tactics. Grab his son. Volk's laugh was cold. No. I want him to choose, the data or his son's body. On Jefferson's rooftop, the FBI sniper team, led by Agent Jackson, had pinpointed the central room, where the strongest signal originated. Through his scope, Jackson saw two guards, professional, in soft armor, faces hidden. Not civilians. Report, he said into his comm. Prep for Night Blade. That was the code name for a silent, simultaneous strike. And only one man had the authority to give the order, Thomas Carter. In the basement, Ramirez handed Noah a small earpiece. Listen, she said. Your dad. He's a legend in counterintelligence. They call him the Shadowless Man. Wherever he goes, no one remembers his face, but every enemy disappears. Noah swallowed hard. Her tone held no exaggeration. I don't need him to be a superhero, he whispered. I just need him to be my dad. Ramirez smiled. Tonight you'll see, sometimes he's both. At that moment, Thomas's voice crackled through every agent's earpiece. Night Blade. Engage. Targets, second floor, control room and east basement. 3 suppressed shots rang out, and in 12 seconds, every exterior guard was down without a sound. Simultaneously, Thomas kicked open the control room door. Before him stood Volk, smirking, holding a data transmitter flashing. Send, 93%. You've lost, Carter, Volk said. I have what I need. Thomas raised his gun. And I know where you are. From behind, Ramirez and 2 agents stormed in, securing the room. Volk raised his hands in surrender, but his eyes burned. There's one piece of data I got before you arrived. Thomas stepped closer, face to face. Not data. Noah. Volk's smile was thin. I know your weakness. And I won't be the last. You're right, Thomas replied, then whispered. But I'll be the last you see. Bang. Washington, D.C. sky darkened, as if reflecting what had just unfolded at Jefferson Academy. Under the flashing lights of ambulances and FBI vehicles, Noah Carter sat on the steps, wrapped in a silver emergency blanket. Beside him was Ethan, his loyal friend through it all, trying not to shake, though both were unsure of what had truly happened.